Okay, we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We're so excited to have everyone join us this afternoon. And we have today with us the amazingly talented Big E Astrology, Mr. Eric Taylor. So, welcome back, Eric. I'm so excited to talk with you today. We just did an interview with you recently and you shared all about your NDE. So, I appreciate that. But I am super excited to talk with you again today about astrology. Go figure, something that you actually are an expert in.
Well, I think I'm an expert at NDEs too, since I
That's
had
true.
one, right? But thank you
Yes.
so much, Tara. It is really an honor to be here live this time with your audience and to talk all things astrology. We've started off with a bumpy year already, and it's only the third.
That's right. That's right. I know I think there's a lot more to come. And, going back to the story that we shared with you about your NDE, I really, I was hoping we could talk more about astrology, but obviously the focus, we wanted it to be on the NDE at that time. So thank you for sharing that, number one. But number two, I'm excited that we get to talk about this right now because I have not had anybody come on just yet and share very deeply about what's coming up in the new year. And so that is a big deal. And my cat's going to drive me crazy right now because they're acting up. They're always like trying to get in the way when I'm
Hey, kitty cats. Biggie Astrology's on with her now. You gotta
right.
just easy, kitty. Take it easy, kitty. Chill out.
Normally this is something I would have edited out, but no, you get to see it all happen. This is what
Oh,
happens behind the
I
scenes.
love it when it's live. And guess what? That is what the energy we're in. Pluto's
Yes.
in Aquarius. It happened November 19th, and it will be there to 2024. So that's sort of the big looming thing this year, but it's really for the next 20 years. And that really speaks to Pluto in Aquarius is all about authenticity. Right now, I don't know if you notice, but since December 31st till later tonight, and going on even into the weekend, we have Mars is at 0 degrees opposite Pluto, which is now 1 degrees. But we've had that opposition, hence RIP to everybody in New Orleans and Bourbon Street.
Mhm.
So sad.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
that was Mars opposite Pluto. The explosion in Las Vegas in front of the Trump Hotel. Now, listen, some of these things could be orchestrated. We won't get into all the conspiracies of all that, but I want everyone to really understand, right? Not understand, understand that the people in power, you guys, they know astrology better than us, which is why I always tell my clients and my audience, Tara, we need to learn it for the good, this ancient wisdom, this occult knowledge, because the powers that be, they know it to manipulate world events and for bad. So when you get that conceptually, you better know your chart and you better learn these light body energies because they affect our planet, each human being tremendously, whether you're ignorant to the astrology or not. Okay, so that Mars opposite Pluto is very explosive. It actually affected my son, my oldest son. This will freak you out. This is literal. He's a Gemini rising. Leo's in the third house. The third house in astrology, you guys, is the local community, transportation, right? Neighbors, neighborhood. My son had gotten off of work, couldn't park in his garage because of his roommates, but he had his car just parked like right outside the apartment complex or whatever. A man hit a woman, and then the woman's car hit my son's car and then had the front push into his other roommate's car and got like smushed and totally totaled. Thank God my son is okay. I got four boys. He's the oldest. But
Good.
that was literally Mars, third house Leo, opposite Pluto, ninth house. You can't
Wow.
make this stuff up. And astrologers, it's a weird term, but you'll see it on X sometimes. People will be like, oh, that's astrology good, like hashtag astrology good, where world events actually play out like we see in the cosmos in astrology. So
Mm.
that's just one example. But I want to just share with your audience what we can expect for Pluto in Aquarius the next 20 years. And any of you guys watching, and maybe you can comment in the chat and Tara will let us know or whatever. But if you are an Aquarius Sun Moon rising, you are going to go through serious changes. Pluto, just so you know, it's a virus. It's power, control, sex, abuse, manipulations. It's Hades, the underworld, secrets, secret societies. Aquarius deals with technology, freedom, liberation, rebellion, the black sheep. It's weird, bizarre, genius. But it is also, when you have Pluto in Aquarius, it's going to reveal, Pluto digs up the secrets. So it will reveal the secrets of science, technology, AI, the dark web, crypto, FEMA, Red Cross, all these organizations. So you're going to see the shadow side come up like you did with Pluto and Capricorn. Remember in '08, immediately it went in and we had the stock market crash. And then we saw all these veils thinning of the political, financial, and entertainment structures and systems, the Me Too movement. Well, Tara, you guys better buckle up. Pluto and Aquarius, you're going to find out all the nefarious stuff that the Red Cross, FEMA, the hospitals have been doing. You're going to find out who's really behind crypto. The dark web may not be so dark because it may come out to the light more. So it's going to be wild. But on the positive side, the technology will have stem cell research, scientific improvements, the technology that you saw in the movie Total Recall and the Matrix. We will go through such an evolution. It is going to be really powerful for our everyday lives.
Yeah, wow. I mean, I know I've heard that this next 12 to 24 months is going to be pretty rocky. There's going to be a lot of unveiling, let's say, of the truth that's going to be coming out. And I want to go back to what you said a little bit earlier about astrology being an important tool that a lot of powerful people use, right? I know I think every single president that we've had has had a personal astrologist, right? That they consult with and who
Yeah,
charts them and lets them know what's coming up in the year ahead, probably for them personally, but also probably for the country, I would imagine, right? Because there's probably different charts for different things. Um,
totally.
and we talked a little bit before we got started here, and you were asking me some questions. And I have to admit, I'm very ignorant to astrology. I would like to learn more. I mean, I'm very teachable. So I'm
That
very
sounds good.
interested and I'm very curious, but it is something that has always eluded me. When you say things like, that's your sun rising and in your moon house. I don't even know. I don't even know the terminology. I know I'm making stuff up right now. But can
Well, I
you
could give a quick little lesson
yes,
for you in the audience, right? So
educate
in
me as much as
astrology,
you can.
we have a big three, which is your sun, moon, and rising, the three prongs of your personality. The sun is your ego, your vitality, your I am energy, the career purpose. It also is, I always like I'm an MC, so I love those double entendres. It's also your father. The moon is your emotional mind, right? The response system, your body, health, intuition. It's also your mother and the family you create. The rising sign ascendant, this is based, and this is why you hear astrologers always say, what's your birth time? The ascendant is based on your birth time. Whatever time you were born, whatever constellation was rising in the eastern horizon, like for me, it's Scorpio, that makes up your ascendant. And the ruling planet, let's say of Scorpio and Aries, is Mars. So Mars is my chart ruler. Okay. But the rising sign first house is the only house of self. It's your physical appearance, your outer mask. So when I walk into a room, it's also your aura. Remember during the pandemic, 6 feet apart? Well, that's the auric field. So I'm a
Mm.
Virgo with a Capricorn moon, but when people first meet me, they're going to energetically feel the Scorpio rising, not the Virgo sun. And the Capricorn moon, that's more for people that know you for years, your family, your friends, boyfriend, girlfriend, parents, children, right? That's more intimate and private. So that's the basis of that. But then, you've got planets from Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. You've got North Node, South Node. These are the points of the moon, the true black moon, Lilith, and so much more. But what's fascinating, Tara, we have 12 houses and it goes counterclockwise, right? From the first house all the way around to the 12th. And these represent themes of your life. Believe it or not, each house, it's 30 degrees, but it can represent like 40 to maybe 50, 60 things in your life, telling the complete story of a human's life. It is super amazing and powerful, and with timing techniques, ancient timing techniques, right? So I'm a Western tropical astrologer. I use the whole sign system. It's a little bit more ancient and more accurate. Nothing wrong with Placidus for my modern astrology friends. Also for the Vedic sidereal, that's fine too. And evolutionary astrology. There's this sometimes weird competition that I don't get involved in. I respect all astrologers. You'll never hear me on my channel or even on a great podcast like this ever talk bad about another astrologer. I just use the whole sign system, Western tropical, but guess what? I use principles of evolutionary astrology for the outer planets. Those are more generational and slow moving, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. And then I use principles of the Vedic astrology because honestly, Tara, I'm just about getting to the truth for you and my clients and for the collective.
Wow. So it sounds like you're kind of combining a number of these different forms of astrology to come up with the truth, right? And the truth is subjective, which is my opinion on that. I think it's relative to every single person what their truth is. But I am curious what, we talked a little bit before we got started, and I shared with you what my birth date was. And unfortunately, I do not know what my time of birth was.
No, and we'll figure that out on a later date. And then I'll
Yeah.
have to come back on and give you like a live personal reading. But it is
Yeah.
personal. So that'd be really brave of you if you were willing to share that with your audience. But hey, that's actually kind of cool.
Yeah,
You know?
you know what? I'm an open book. I'm pretty good about sharing information, so I
I
don't
know.
mind.
You're a Gemini. Of course you are. I have one of those in my home. I have 4 sons, a Virgo, a Gemini, and 2 Leos. My wife's a Pisces. I'm a Virgo. So yeah, I got a lot of signs covered. My mom was a Taurus. My dad was an Aries. They're both RIP in heaven. So and a Libra sister. So I know every sign like the back of my hand. And what's really fascinating about Gemini, you guys, number one, Gemini women, you guys are tough as nails. I mean, you can do it all. Jack, Jack and Jane of all trades. But Gemini's your mind. I mean, you can sometimes deal with overthinking, a lot of
Yeah.
anxiety. Gemini's, it's different, right? Gemini and Virgo are both ruled by the planet Mercury. Virgo, earth and water signs are feminine, not female, feminine, more intuitive,
Mhm.
more receptive. Gemini, an air sign, mutable air sign, and Leo, let's say a fire sign, they are more masculine, not male, masculine, more action orientated, more
Mhm.
outgoing, right? So a Gemini, I marvel at you guys because believe it or not, Tara, my wife hates when I say this, but it's true. There's times as a Virgo, now once you get me started and I feel comfortable, I can take over any house party, but I am a little shy and reserved at first. Virgos like to analyze and assess and then feel safe and comfortable, then they jump in. Geminis, y'all don't need an invitation, nothing. You just like, yo, what's up? I'm here, I'm Tara. You're like in the mix. And I marvel at that because I love the energy, the swagger, the confidence that Geminis have. And what's so great, especially about Gemini women, and I'll be honest, and this will trip you out. So here's an example, you guys. I'm a Scorpio rising. So I have Taurus in my 7th house of relationships and marriage. Your 8th house in astrology, mine is Gemini for Scorpio rising, right? But the 8th house of astrology, Tara, it does show like after the marriage, but the sign there for anybody in your audience will show you, for me, Gemini sun moon risings may be physically or sexually attracted to me. Hence, I had about 3 or 4 Gemini girlfriends when I was a single man. So I know the Gemini energy really, really well.
Mm.
Let alone, of course, I got a Gemini son. One of my second son is a Gemini. So that's really fascinating. And you guys are, a lot of Gemini women can be tomboys growing up. Really, sometimes a lot of talent and skills with their hand. Gemini's the mimic, the court gesture. You can be artistic, creative, good writers. You can talk really fast. Sometimes you guys can pick up languages quickly. But it's weird. Like you guys, sometimes you Gemini ladies, and Tara, maybe getting too personal. You'll have to share what you want to share with the audience. But sometimes your picker is off. You can pick
Oh, yeah.
the worst guys for dating.
Mhm.
My God, like sometimes this is my joke for Geminis, right? So my term of endearment, I have term of endearment sayings for each sign, and I never want to offend anybody, but I just say I call Geminis the verbal slut. And I mean that in the best way possible because you guys will talk to the mailman, person at the post office, somebody at the bank, your favorite person at the grocery store, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. You guys, I mean, it's incredible. You're pumping gas and you're making a friend. Like Geminis are incredible like that. And I'm like, wow, right? But the
Yeah.
lady, you guys will be like, you're attracted to the guy in the leather jacket on the motorcycle with the bloody knife and a couple of strands of hair on it. And I'm like,
I'm like,
what
"He
are you
looks like a
doing?
nice guy."
Like
We'll give
Gemini,
him the benefit of the doubt.
it will take Gemini women to about 35 or 40 to one, integrate all 4 of their personalities. The men have 2 or 3, the women always usually have 4, and to kind of calm down to really accept the nice guy. I've seen it where it can take somewhere between 30 and 40 years old. How
Well,
did I do?
I think you did good, but I'm beyond that age and I still haven't figured that piece out. So we're still a work in progress over here.
Well, I'm
Um,
here to help you.
but you hit the nail on the head with quite a few things there. It's funny because growing up, my parents used to say, you could talk a hungry dog off a meat wagon because I'm a natural storyteller. That's just like in my DNA to be
Yeah.
that way. And like anytime I would come home from school and I'd be like, oh my gosh, talking to my parents, listen to what just happened. They're like, oh, can you make it quick? Because like they knew it was going to be a long story when I started that way. They're like, okay, do we need to get something to drink and just take a seat and sit back and listen?
I
And
love
then
that.
I used to have a boyfriend that would say to me, well, first of all, you hit the nail on the head because I will befriend like the person at the grocery store and just have a full on conversation. And we would be out, and he was like, can you just not talk to everybody? Like, do you have to talk to everybody? And I'm like, well, yeah, I have to talk to them. Like, I want to have, I'm a communicator. That's part of, and I think that's part of being a Gemini too, isn't it? Being a communicator, like
Yeah,
an actual authentic
it's
communicator.
ruled by the planet Mercury. You got Gemini. Mercury is the messenger planet. So Mercury can go to the luminaries, in astronomy, sun and moon are not planets, they're luminaries, but in astrology, they're planets, right? They're like the god and goddess in a way. So Mercury can go up to the sun and moon, and it's only ever 28 degrees away from your sun sign. So if you're a Gemini, that tells me your Mercury placement is either Gemini, Taurus, or Cancer. Okay. But for example, what you just said about that whole talking everywhere you go, if someone has their planet Venus, which is your love language, relationships, arts, culture, entertainment, it can be a wife in a same sex couple or a man's chart. Venus, it's also devotion, sweets, Friday, like today, it's Venus Day, and chocolates. Venus in Gemini, they are socialites. And what's so funny, a lot of guys, they may not realize if they meet a Venus Gemini woman, she'll just talk their heads off and they think that she's like, kind of like hitting on them or into them. But
Right.
that's not always the case. A
Yes.
Gemini Venus woman, she'll talk up anybody. And that doesn't mean she's flirting. So some
Right.
guys can get embarrassed or their feelings hurt because a
Yeah.
lot of times Venus Gemini women like, oh, no, did you think I was flirting with you? No, I'm just talking. Watch out, so it's kind of funny. So yeah.
I have had to have that exact conversation with people. I'm like, I'm just being friendly. Like, don't mistake it for anything else. I promise you, there's nothing here. I'm just being a nice person because that's just in my nature to be that way.
Oh my
So,
God.
but then there are times that those people are like, oh, she's showing interest. I'm like, no, 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 no. Let's not get, too out of control here. That's not what's happening.
No,
But
no, and
yeah,
that's confusing for guys, right? Because
yeah,
usually, if it's not a Gemini woman, but usually if a girl is all up in your face and talking to you, she's kind of feeling you, she's into you, but not always with Gemini Sun,
right.
Mercury, sometimes the Moon or Venus placements.
Yeah.
So let me hit you with something that's coming up soon. This
Okay.
is important for your audience. Um, January 11th, you guys. I mentioned before, the North Node is currently now in Aries at 0 degrees. We've experienced this for the last 18 months. Aries North Node and the opposite sister sign, Libra South Node. It's about to switch on January 11, 2025, the Pisces North Node, Virgo South Node. Virgo Pisces is the health axis. The Pisces North Node, the North Node is your mission, purpose, destiny. It's a consuming energy. It wants to eat, eat, eat. It doesn't mature until you start to recognize it after 30 years old, but it matures between 42 and 48 years old. But when it's in transit for 18 months, it's like a balancing beam. You got to go a little bit towards the Pisces North Node, being more spiritual, imaginative, creative. And then you got to kind of go back to the Virgo South Node, where you're kind of the South Node cuts, separates, divides. It wants spirituality. It's wanting more harmony. It's wanting you to release things that no longer serves you. So in Virgo, that means what? Stop being nitpicky, stop being overly critical of others and self-critical, and making sure that you're focused on your health. Virgo rules digestion, right? And the pancreas, and Pisces rules your feet and toenails. So for all you people out there, it doesn't matter if you're a Pisces or not, it's going to affect the entire collective. So you look in your birth chart and see what house you have your Pisces in. That's letting you know there you're going to be prone and pushed to be more spiritual, increase your spiritual practice, but focus on your spiritual and your mental health. Then you look in your Virgo house, right? For me, I'm a Scorpio rising, so the Virgo's in my 11th, Pisces in my 5th. So with that Virgo energy, I've got to be wanting to have in groups and organizations more of a spiritual connection, more spiritual relationship, and cut off anybody, fake friends or social network that's no longer serving me. But for me, because natally I'm a Pisces North Node, I'm having my nodal return. So the nodes in ancient times, they would see the nodes. That's when we have what? The solar and lunar eclipse. And whenever those would happen, we see changes of leaders, kings, wars. Prince Charles was brought in on an eclipse, right? So you see things like that with the royals. So eclipses are really powerful and can bring great changes to nations, leaders, and so on.
Yeah. I mean, and just relating to what you were just saying, and I don't know how much of what I'm going to share relates specifically to that, but I have a very analytical mind. I always have. Like when something happens, I can look at it 10 different ways and figure out here's the outcome if I make this choice, make that choice, make this choice, and I can do it in a split second,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And I've had a very in my I call it my 3D life. I've had a very like left brain job. I was a financial advisor and for many years. And so I'm transitioning away from that into more of that spiritual, as you're just saying, the spiritual side of things and being more creative. Doing
Yeah.
this is more of a creative outlet for me. And it's a calling that I had. And it's just something that I couldn't deny any longer. It just kind of took over my life. And so I don't know how much that relates to my chart and what's happening in the chart, but just the way you were describing, I think you were talking more in general terms. But for
Yep.
me, I was relating in that way because I feel like I see myself going on that same type of trajectory. And I feel like a lot of other people are too, just with where we are in this ascension process right now.
Oh, definitely. Right. See, what people have got to really understand is that we're going through a wonky time. I mean, let's be honest, the world is bat-ass crazy right now, right? And so when you're switching from the Piscean age to the age of Aquarius, Pluto's now in Aquarius for the next 20 years, like I said, that is a bumpy ride. Ages are over 2,100 years, right?
Mhm.
So think about that. People think, oh, we're in the age of Aquarius. Yeah, but slow down. It's like the pinky toe in the water at the beach when the water's just barely coming up to the sand. That's where we're at. So what's great though, we chose as star seeds, and all of us here are probably in that star seed range, different ages, probably watching your channel, but we chose, our souls chose to be here at this time for this great awakening. The entire universe, aliens, UFOs, all the planets, all eyes are on planet Earth. Okay. It is like birth to earth. Like everyone is like, what's going on down there? What's up with the earthlings? Well, it's a big thing. And so we are here as the collective for those who are choosing to awaken, where we have got to lay the foundation of the age of Aquarius. So in that time, four highest frequencies: gratitude, joy, love, and number one by far, authenticity, right? Think of that as the Leo Aquarius axis. Leo is the heart chakra. So we have to live by our hearts, and that's the human design prophecy in 2027. We, as a collective, will leave the solar plexus and go to the heart chakra. And then authenticity, that's Aquarius. Aquarius is a fixed air sign, but it's the water bearer. So sometimes people get confused, but it's pouring out the water of knowledge, spiritual awakening. Traditional ruler Saturn, modern ruler Uranus. Aquarius are rebels. They're stubborn, they're fixed, they're arrogant as all get out, but they're brilliant. Okay. So we have got to really grasp and understand at this time it's okay to talk to your cat live on Ethereal Edge podcast, because that's authentically you. It's
Is it
okay
okay
for
to
me
spray them with
to
a water bottle
it's
too?
okay
Because
for me to twist my locks. Someone will say, "Oh, that guy's nervous." No, I just haven't gone to my lock specialist, and I go next week, and I got a lot of new growth, and I feel like, "Oh man, I got to twist this new growth into my locks." And so, that's authentically me. People say, I had somebody say to me on my podcast, "Oh, how come you don't show your eyes? What are you hiding?" I was like,
yeah.
okay, oh my God, people. I wear the sunglasses. One, I'm a Scorpio rising, so I like a little mystery. But two, I am legally blind in my right eye. I was
Mm,
born with an eye disease called retinitis pigmentosa. And so I don't want to distract the audience because sometimes my right eye is a lazy eye and sometimes it'll wander a bit. So I wear my shades. But that's just authentically me. Okay.
mhm.
But that's the currency. So for you guys as a collective and audience, just be you, right? Tara can't be Jennifer or Stephanie. She needs to
Right.
be Tara because that's reflecting back to God source energy creator, being her true authentic self. Eric, Taylor, Biggie Astrology, the native New Yorker, the actor, the MC, the former teacher of disabled children, the guy
Mhm.
who took care of his mother over 20 years as she survived breast, brain cancer, and dementia. I am always going to be authentically me. You come to my channel and you watch my videos, you're going to be educated and entertained, right? Like Karis One said back in the late 80s, early 90s, edutainment, right? So
Mhm.
you'll watch me do a video breaking down the Gemini moon or sun or Mercury, and I'm going to make you laugh. I may do a comedy character. I may break into a freestyle rhyme, but you are going to learn about that Gemini energy in a way that you never have before, that'll make it easier for you, Tara, to really integrate it into your
Yeah.
life. And I think that's one of my gifts and something that I'm extremely proud of, but I'm only just being me.
That's right. That's right. And I think that that's such an important lesson right now for a lot of people is you being you. And I said this recently in another video is that we each have our own signature vibration and we are the only us that we can be on this planet. So there's no other person like you. You are just such an individual and you have a purpose and a reason for being here. And if you have a message to share, that message is going to be conveyed to the right people who are going to be receiving that information. And they may hear that same message from 10 other people, but it doesn't resonate for them. So they're not taking it in. And also,
Yeah.
by the way, timing is everything as well. So you might hear the
Oh, yeah.
same message a bunch of times, but it's just not clicking in place. But then all of a sudden, that one day, you hear that message come through and it's like, oh, now I get it. Now I understand what that means. And that's been happening for me a lot lately. I've been having a lot of aha moments where I was
Yes.
like, oh, I've been hearing this a lot. And then all of a sudden, this one day, it just made sense to me. And I was like, okay, now I get it. And I can integrate that and I can use it for my own personal growth. So
That's
I
beautiful.
appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that so much. And thank you for sharing that too, because people need to hear that. I think that's what that gives people permission to be who they are. Right. And then they can allow their light to shine, which then allows other people's light to shine. So it's just a domino effect where we all help each other kind of raise our vibration together. So I appreciate that so much. And I want to go back because you mentioned aliens, and that's one of my favorite things to talk about. You know, I think and I've said this many times, I think we are on this precipice of having, I think disclosure is already happening. It's been happening. A lot of us who watch this kind of information are aware that we've been visited already for many years. A lot, they're here already with us. But what I'm talking about is that full contact where it is undeniable.
Yes.
People all across the planet are going to have the awareness. It will no longer be like people who talk about this are wearing tin hats and they are
Right.
just, talking about little green aliens. Like there's already a higher level of conversation taking place. I mean, look at what's happening in the government. We're having all of these congressional hearings. Whistleblowers are finally coming forward. Very credible people in the military are talking about this information. David Grush came forward. We recently had another congressional hearing. We had Colonel Carl Nell speak out and say, yes, we've been visited for years and they are here. They've been here.
But
Like this
you
is
got a question though, Tara. Why are they doing that now?
right.
That's what I want the collective to use, right? Tap in to your third eye, right? Tap into your energy and your crystals and use spiritual discernment, right? They dropped
Mhm.
something on a Friday in the New York Times during the pandemic in 2020. America and Great Britain admitted to this, right? Now, a couple of years later, they're starting to share a little bit more. But why now, right? We
Mhm.
know they've been here maybe since the beginning, right? Supposedly, they have affected our telomeres, taking us from 12-strand to 2-strand DNA. We are hybrids ourselves. We are the aliens in a lot of ways, and a lot of them are coming from under the ocean or
Mhm.
behind the ice wall in the North Node. So,
Yeah.
North Pole, right?
Yeah.
So we have got to really have spiritual discernment because they may, and I don't know if you or your audience has heard of Project Bluebeam, they
Mhm.
may have a false flag where, they, can, really show in the sky anything and even have like the voice of God or something playing to make us be in fear because they like to energy harvest through fear and having us in our lower chakras. And I always tell my audience, and I want to share with your audience, please always faith over fear. And the best thing you can really do is turn off that tell eye vision. I don't care if it's CNN, Fox, CBS, NBC, ABC, NPR, have your own spiritual discernment. I'm not saying social media is all true or the gospel, but where the truth really lies, Tara, is inside ourselves. You'll know when something is yay or nay. You'll know when something is right or wrong. You'll get the goosebumps on your arm. You'll feel a yes in your body. And unfortunately, for a lot of us in Western societies and Western cultures, we are not really taught to listen to our intuition, our gut instinct, the root chakra. And we need to start to awaken that more, right? This gets into Kundalini energy, Kundalini awakenings, and all this stuff. But remember, we're having 2024 was the greatest recorded measurable science, not spiritual woohoo, science, X class and M class solar flares affecting Gaia Mother Earth, changing the frequency of the planet and literally our DNA. So we're going through this upgrade, and I think the nefarious ones and the powers that be, even bigger than the government, they don't want us to awaken to the truth because they have been manipulating every aspect of our lives, programming our subconscious mind through the media, movies, magazines, television, and really having us in a place where, whether people want to admit it or not, we are all in servitude in some form of control, manipulation, programming, cognitive dissonance, the matrix, and slaves. And so that's where we have to be like, the government's telling us something. When has the government ever really been about the people and helping us for good in our lives? Ding dong, ding dong. Oh yeah, Jeopardy, right? Not really ever. So we just got to have some discernment. And I tell people, yeah, you're going to experience things, you're going to see things, and the veil is so thin. Do you know? I tell the story, but over the summer, Tara, I'm sitting here working really hard at my computer, working on charts for clients. And out of the corner of my eye, I swear I saw a man in my backyard. And Tara, I was like, ain't nobody supposed to be back there. So then I was like, my wife's home. We, both work from home. So like, whatever, have our own businesses. But in my head, I was like, oh, it's about to be on. So I got up and I'm like, all flexed up. I go outside. Nobody's in my backyard. But that's where, I don't know if you remember last spring, could have been March, April, May, I forget the month. They made this weird announcements in the media, right? Where they said, oh, people may start seeing demon faces on people and it's some sort of condition or disease. No, it's not. It's that some people are reptilians and grays and different things, and they are not able, because of the veil being so thin and us leaving the 3D and heading to the 5D, they cannot hold their shape-shifting abilities. So we're going to start to see elementals, shadow beings. We may start to see, people, I don't know. I don't know if you saw on the internet, there was, this is kind of weird, but I'm just saying I saw it. I don't know what to make of it. Like, I think it was one of the guys from, Pfizer or whatever. He had like a bulging thing out of his neck. It was really weird, right? And so you may start to see things like that, people's eyes flipping or looking like lizards. So why are they coming out with this media information saying like da 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 da? Well, this is where we need the spiritual discernment. So I tell people, really check in with yourself. Check in, pray to God or whatever you believe in, source, creator, Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, whatever, right? And really try to say, what does this feel like to me? Because I don't want anybody to be misled. I always tell my audience, right, and tell people, hey, don't let technology and comfort and convenience lead you to the road to perdition or lead you to hell. Don't put a chip in your head or your hand. Don't listen. Some things about Elon sound great, but a lot of things, Neuralink and SpaceX, and like, you got to just be careful, right? We want to use the technology. We don't want the technology, like Prince said, to use us. Yeah. So just slow down, be easy, and be careful, okay? It's very important because in 2025, Tara, those two things that I mentioned, Pluto, Aquarius, and Pisces North Node, that's just the beginning. July 7th, on the 7-7 portal, we have the planet of spiritual awakenings, freedom, liberation, chaos, extreme weather. Uranus is in Taurus. It's been there since 2018. 2025 is like a little sneak preview, the coming attractions of the movie theater. That's what this is this year with 3 bigger planets, Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus. Uranus will leave Taurus from July 7th until early 2026, and then it will come back in like January, February, back to Taurus. And then permanently for 7 years, Uranus has a 7-year cycle, 84 years before it goes through the whole 12 houses, and you have what they call the Uranus return. Uranus is connected to, in a marriage, the 7-year itch, or you've heard of the midlife crisis between 42 and 49. Those are Uranus transits. Uranus will be in Gemini starting officially April 2026 to 2033. The last time Uranus was in Gemini, Pluto or Aquarius, that alignment, the American Revolution, Tara.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So did these planets being in certain locations, does this affect everybody on the planet, or is it only the people that have those specific planets in their house at a certain time of year?
No, ma'am. It affects everybody because you have all 12 signs in your natal birth chart. Let's just pretend you're the Gemini sun, and let's just say you are Gemini rising. Well, Jupiter's on your ascendant right now. I mean, Jupiter's hitting your sun. Jupiter has been in Gemini since last June. It'll be there to like the end of May, early June this year. Jupiter has a 12-month cycle in transit. So after, starting in June, it will go to Cancer for a year. So Jupiter's been in your Gemini. So this could be expanding your communications. This could be growing or starting a podcast, right? We've had the podcast boom since 2021. That's when the North Node was in Gemini, right? This was the podcast election. Trump and Harris. Trump was on crazy amount of podcasts, right? They said his son told him to do it, but I'm sure astrologers told him too, because Jupiter's in Gemini, right? So this is this time where, hey, go for it. Start a podcast, start your Etsy, your eBay, your Shopify business, go for it. But that's something that is really strong. Jupiter is the great benefic. It is your wisdom, your beliefs, your philosophies, the teacher, preacher, professor, guru, shaman. It's about expansion, fortune, abundance, luck. Jupiter in the natal birth chart, it's a wife's husband. So Jupiter would be your husband. So if I was looking at a love chart reading for Tara, I'd be like, well, Tara, where's your Jupiter? If your Jupiter was, let's say, in Libra, I would say you could potentially marry a Libra sun, moon, rising sign.
Okay.
And that would be the same thing for a same-sex couple and stuff like that, right? Okay. So, and Venus would be the wife. So it's really fascinating. But Jupiter is at home in Sagittarius and Pisces. It's exalted. That just means it's like at its optimum energy in Cancer. So everybody thinks of Jupiter as wealth, and it can be the indicator of that in Sagittarius or in Pisces. In Sagittarius, it could be a little bit more preachy and dogmatic. In Pisces, a little bit more spiritual and creative. In Cancer, it's not always the financial abundance. Think about this. Who's your first teacher in life, Tara?
Well, your parents.
Your mom, right?
Yeah.
It's your mom. Cancer is associated with the mother. So Jupiter in Cancer, it's the divine wisdom and knowledge, right? So it's not always the financial blessings. When Jupiter's in Cancer, it can be a little real estate boom, because Cancer is about family, home, safety, security, feelings, sensitivities. So when Jupiter goes into Cancer this June for a year, Cancer, sun, moon, risings, what do the young kids say? You're going to have a glow up. But at the same time, it could bring back better things for real estate, more home safety, security, more people returning back to live with their parents, or parents moving in with their children. A lot of families now, Tara, because of just the economy and everything, they're multi-generational. My mother-in-law just moved out, but for a while, my mom, and then she passed away. Then my mother-in-law moved in. We had children, us, the parents, my wife and I, and then a mother-in-law. So you're seeing that to be more common in America, and in more foreign lands and indigenous cultures, people always have multi-generational homes.
A normal way of life.
Yeah. And it's really better for the kids and the grandparents, right? They both help each other. So
That's right. That's right.
That's a positive thing for this year to look forward to.
Well, that's good to hear. I mean, I did a reading. It wasn't an astrology reading, but just a regular psychic reading. And it was probably maybe, I want to say like 6 months ago, probably about 6 months ago. Okay. And they told me that anything that I start this year would be successful. And whether that's true or not, I chose to believe it.
Because I think Gemini, of course.
The system is actually what helps to make something come true. Amen. So it's interesting. I know we didn't get a chance to chart my astrology chart before we came on tonight, but we're going to do
another reason to have me back, girl.
Yes. And we'll definitely have to do that because I am curious, and I'll have to see if I can figure out what my birth time was, which it's surprising to me that my mother doesn't know that. I'm like, was the sun out or was the moon out? Like, I mean, can we not just at least narrow it down a little bit?
Don't you love me, Mom? You don't remember?
Right? I'm like, we can't, there's got to be a way to figure that out. Like, were you just waking up like when this happened, or were you tired and ready to go to sleep? I mean, anyway,
Oh
we'll work
God.
on that. But and just a reminder, anyone who's watching, we've got a few people live right now, a group of people, and so
Oh,
anybody who's
I'll take any
interested,
questions if you want, Tara.
absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Let's get some questions going in the chat here. If anybody has questions, we do have one here, and I'm going to butcher this name, so I apologize. Ibon Echevarria. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Myth, hence mythology means pertaining to the divine. So why do you think mythology means something not real? So that's an interesting question. What are your thoughts on that, Eric?
Oh God, Ivan likes to come in hot and deep. Well, you know, it's kind of layered, right? I mean, I don't think mythology is a fallacy at all. I mean, to me,
Mhm.
it's kind of like the term conspiracy theorist and myth, right? Like there's always going to be some truth to it. And so whether you're looking at like Greek gods or like, you think of some of these fixed stars like Algo, right? Algo was in play in a big story, and the mythology behind it is deals with Medusa and people coming for your head and attacking you and all this stuff, right? Well, that was the exact conjunction on the first assassination attempt of Trump. His 10th house, he's a Leo rising, his 10th house is Taurus. The exact conjunction was on the 15th. The attempt on his life was on the 13th during the summer. And you had on his 10th house in the midheaven, which is your public image, your legacy, work, career, government, all this stuff, right? You had Uranus, Algo, and Mars. Mars is the adversary, the weapon. Uranus is the sudden event, and Algo is like coming for your head. Well, for astrologers, that was that thing I said, astrology good, but it was literal, right? They shot and like kind of nipped the ear and at his
Yeah.
head. So that's where I'm saying, like, the people in power, they know that. Could they have orchestrated that? Or was that just the energy of the cosmos, as above, so down below? So, yeah, I mean, I think, Ivan, I never poo poo mythology. As an astrologer, I really can't because there's a lot of mythology in astrology. But I think we all need to use spiritual discernment and take some myth or some quote unquote conspiracy theory, which, by the way, I hate the term because it's a made up term. It
Yeah.
started after the Kennedy assassination to distract the collective and make people think truth on top of lie on top of truth on top of lie. Then it got cemented in pop culture with the Mel Gibson, Julia Roberts movie, right? And so that's where people can question anybody that questions the authority of the government. Well, if I'm in power and I like run a bunch of minions, I will come up with these terms to make you, discredit anyone that speaks out against my authority. Well, you got to think of it like that. So myth, conspiracy theory, I would say nay to both. And there's probably a little bit of truth or a lot of truth in mythology and also in conspiracy theories.
Yeah. And I think too, mythology really represents storytelling, and that's
Exactly.
how we learn the most. I mean, there's been scientific studies done that show that we retain information by what we hear and what we relate to. So if
Yeah.
you hear a story and you can relate in some way, that really you'll take that information in even more deeply. And so mythology, and the way I look at it, is that's really a form of storytelling. So it may not be very literal in terms of what has happened in that mythological story that's being told, but
Yeah.
it's there to to teach a lesson, to share a concept or an idea. And
Always.
that's kind of how I look at it. So it doesn't have to be real, but it could be. I mean, it could very well be, but I think it mainly exists to share information and transfer information from one generation to another. That's my thought on that.
Oh, that's
Um,
such a great Gemini way to put it. Well, here's an example, right? So Uranus is the god of the sky. It goes back to ancient Kemet, Osiris, but they say it's Uranus is Saturn, Kronos' father, and Saturn castrated his father, Uranus, right? So that's like, whoa, like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, did this really happen? Is it a
mhm.
mythology? You know what I mean? But we live in a Saturnian matrix bubble. You know what I mean? So, and I want you guys to know, right? The birth chart is a map of your life, the remembrance of your soul. So when you come to me and I'm reading the chart, I am literally the spiritual teacher, tour guide, showing to you this is what you selected. You chose your parents. You
Mm.
chose these life lessons. So I always tell people, Tara, you're not a victim in the 3D or the 5D spiritual realm. You have free will, but you have power. And when you learn these energies, life slows down. You literally become a Jedi when
Oh,
you learn to master
ugh,
your natal birth chart and live and exist in the flow and harmony of your chart. And people, I want people to know that's not a myth like George Lucas. The Jedi was real, but they spelled it Djedi. And that
mm,
goes back to ancient Samaria, Lemuria, Kemet, all of it, the Jed,
yeah.
so it's really, and it's like a lightsaber, but it's your light energy inside of you, right? Mastering
Wow.
energy. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
powerful.
I've never heard of it explained that way, so that's incredible. I wanna be a Jedi. So
Oh,
apparently I need to get
listen,
my
if
chart
you
done.
take astrology classes with me, you will become one.
I love that. I love that. Sunny has a few questions.
All
Sunny, you
right.
asked, your state doesn't include birth time on your birth certificate, which I've been asked this many times, and I've looked at it, and unless I'm missing it, I do not see it on there. So, I do
I can
have
help.
to.
So I love doing this. I only charge an extra $20, right?
No,
It's basically reenacted in the chart. I have to talk to you on the phone.
yes.
You kind of tell me you probably know the city, state, the date. I was
Yeah.
born February 1st, 1979, whatever. So we'll start at 12 noon. But then I may say, or ask mom and dad, well, maybe do you know was it day or night? Then that gives us a little help. But then I will sit there and I will, like a detective, a Scorpio rising that I am, I will ask you specific questions about married, your parents, children, your career, and it all tells a story. And then I can figure it out. The beauty is each house represents 2 hours. There's 12 houses, right? So it's 24 hours in a day. So I really need to get it within 2 hours. Sometimes I can get it exact, but to get an accurate chart reading, I have to get the rising sign, the right house. So it's a big difference if you're a Taurus rising or a Gemini rising, right?
Mhm.
And then once I get that, then you go counterclockwise, first house, second house, third house, fourth house, go all the way around. And that's how I interpret the chart based on the planetary alignments, the aspects, and those 12 signs through the zodiac, which is
Mm.
360 degrees. And we learn in a cipher, a perfect circle, right?
Mm.
So yeah, so just reach out to me. You can go to my website, biggieastrology.com, or even email me, eric@biggieastrology.com, and just give me the information and say, hey, I'm ready to give you the $20 because I don't know my birth time, Eric, and we'll get on the phone and we will figure it out. And I've done it for a lot of clients now, and it's my honor, my joy, and my pleasure.
Okay, great. Well, I'm gonna be, Venmoing you that $20, so I need the help with that. Sunny has another question. Can an astrology chart predict the outcome of big legal situations in one's life? These are big situations, not little divorces, etc.
Oh, bigger than a divorce, big, not little divorces. Wow, that's pretty
Yeah.
interesting to say that. I think divorces are pretty big, Sonny. Um,
Well,
I
it depends
surely
how long
never
you were
want.
married for.
Well,
Under a year
yeah,
is a little divorce.
well, what's so funny? So the legal houses in astrology, yeah, that's one of them is the seventh house for relationships, and then also conflicts in the sixth house. So yes, so what's fascinating is that we can set up a chart for any event. It could be the birth of a dog, a cat, a birth of a business. You can be planning a trip. If you say to me, Eric, I'm going to Massachusetts or New Jersey and I'm leaving Saturday at 10 a.m., I can cast a chart for California, 10 a.m., and that chart will show me how your vacation will be for that duration of time.
Wow.
And that's what's so amazing. So, yeah, we can, look at when the court case was filed, but we need like the time and date, city and state, and that's called electionary or horary or astrology. So yeah, we can cast for a vacation, a road trip, anything. Your child going to college for 4 years, right? When they're leaving or when they start their first day of classes, you can set up a chart for that and it will tell the story of that event or experience. right? So it's very powerful. So yeah, you can definitely do that. I had to
Wow.
do that, with a different situation once. So yeah, it can be done, and it's really fascinating. I do business birth charts. If anybody's looking to, if when you filed your S corp or your LLC, or guess what? If you're ready to start a business in 2025, I can tell you the most beneficial time based on your type of business when to file for your LLC or S corp. Literally, I'd be like, hit the button on, because now people
Mm.
file over the internet. Filed at 1 p.m. Click. You know what I mean? I just did this the other
Wow.
day with a gentleman in Tasmania in Australia. I work worldwide,
Wow,
so
I
yeah.
had no idea that you could be so specific for specific reasons and then down to the moment of when you should take an action. Like, I thought it was a little more general, in terms of like,
No, it
"Oh."
is. It's
Yeah,
so
that's
detailed,
wow,
Tara. That's why
that's
it's such
incredible.
a perfect system.
Yeah.
Numerology is great. Tarot, human design is a mixture of quantum
Mhm.
physics, the I Ching, and astrology. Numerology, gematria, soul contract readings, all the metaphysical teachings are amazing. But astrology, it's like this mixture of math, spirituality, I guess a little astronomy, intuition.
Yeah.
It's like soul, it's everything. And so, yeah, it's that specific and that detailed. For people, let's say if you've got, like, I've got 4 children, and my chart and my wife's chart, I could actually track and see, the years of life of when our children were born. It's like a trip. And I've
Wow.
seen this in my classes that I teach. I've seen the actual time periods in the assassinations of JFK, RFK, MLK, and Malcolm X, what I call the 4 horsemen. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like the last 4 guys that actually raged against the machine for good and that were
Mm.
taken out. So yeah,
Wow.
you could see everything.
That's amazing. That's incredible. Sunny has another question. Context to that question is because I know good astrologers can chart auspicious times for one to get married. So,
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
that seems like it would fall in that same category.
Oh, Sonny, yes. Let me tell you, you don't want to ever get married during a Venus or a Mercury retrograde. No, 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 no bueno. Right? I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago. There was a huge Venus retrograde in Leo during the summer, and I was helping clients and telling them, "Do me a favor, do not get married during the Venus retrograde." And we actually have one coming up. Perfect segue. Starting March 1st to April 11th. Venus will be retrograding from Aries back into Pisces, making a beautiful spiritual conjunction. And a conjunction tower is when planets are within 10 degrees, same sign, same house. Some astrologers will look out of sign, out of house. I don't like to do that. But so you'll have the Pisces North Node, Venus, Neptune, and Mercury in that time period between March and April, where they're all together, making things like dreaming a big dream, your dream to be this creative artist, your dream to learn to play violin, to start your own business, to have a dream winter wedding in a winter wonderland or whatever, or spring wedding, right? You're talking about getting towards March, April. So these are the things that you can see. Neptune, just so you know, remember I said Pluto was virus? Neptune is disease, spirituality, creativity, imagination, the evolution of your spiritual growth in this lifetime. Illusion, confusion, fog, delusion, and deception. Chemicals, dye, pharmaceuticals, poetry, film, photography. So Neptune represents so many things. It's nebulous. You know what I mean? So this is also where we can get a little idealistic and unrealistic around love. So maybe during that retrograde, don't judge your picker in terms of like, oh my God, I just met this guy and I love him and da da da. Wait till that Venus retrograde is over and see, oh, he wasn't what I thought he was. That's
Well, we
that.
need to
No,
call
sir.
you and have you chart our,
No, you
this
better
process.
call me because I seriously can help. I mean, that's what I love doing, though, right? I mean, let's be honest. If we know society and what people mostly will ask for, people want to know about their career and their money and their
Yep.
love and relationships.
Right.
But I like to also get deeper. I like to help my clients heal their inner child, increase their
Mm.
self love, work with dream books, positive affirmations, and reprogramming your subconscious mind, which is the rote memory, right? We only use our conscious mind around 10% at most during the day. So we got to get into that 12th house. We got to get into that Pisces energy and clear out the subconscious mind, because that just means Eric and Tara, if we haven't done that work, we may not be living our lives intentionally the way we truly desire.
Yeah.
We're living it based on a program of other people's ideals on
Mhm.
who we should be.
That's right. That's right. And sometimes these, I call these permission slips. I get that from Daryl Anka, who channels Bashar. I love that term because it just gets us back on our path. It's like sometimes we get a little off path, and these are things that can just put us right back on the right path that we are supposed to be on, where we have all these amazing things that are coming our way. But if we're just slightly a couple degrees off of our path, we're going in the wrong direction. So we really need to kind of use different methods, and this can be one of them to get us back on that path. And so we have another question here from Donna Ewing. I hope I say that right. Could you
Hey,
tell me
Donna.
what I should, hey, Donna, could you tell me what I should be expecting in this new year? And she gave her birth date and birth time. So good for you. You have your birth time. So you're already ahead of the game.
Oh my God. Well, yeah, you definitely want to, give me that privately for a reading. But tell me, what is the birthday?
It's August 3rd, 1970, and the time is 8:52 a.m.
Well, August 3rd, 1970, your Pluto's in Virgo. I'm born 1970 as well. So hello, Donna. You're just a little bit older than me. I'm a Virgo, September. So, that Leo, right? And August 3rd, you're just entering in probably the second decan. So my best guesstimate, your sun is either at like 10 or 11 degrees. And, um, knowing the planetary alignments at that time, the Pluto's in Virgo, your Uranus is in Libra, and you got that Leo sun. I'd have to really look at the chart and stuff like that to see your moon and rising and all that. So definitely reach out to me to book a reading. But, one thing that's going to be important for you, be on the high vibration of Leo, right? You want to vibrate from your heart chakra, be generous. Don't be so stubborn and fixed. Leo is a fixed fire sign, very passionate. Secret on the street is Leo women, and I know this to be true, you give the warmest and best hugs. You guys are just whatever, but you like a lot of attention, let's be honest, right? Leo is either the politician or the entertainer, right? Now, depending, because Leos, people, you could have somebody born the same day as you, Donna, and they'd be totally different from you because it depends on where that sun is placed. Well, knowing that time, 8:30, was it? What was it?
8:52, 8:52 a.m.
8:52. So that means your sun is most likely in the 12th or 11th house. So if that's the case, you're either a Virgo or a Libra rising. Okay. And so if the sun's in the 12th house, I'll just tell you, probably had some challenges with dad. Doesn't mean he wasn't a great dad, but either he didn't get you or you didn't get him. Something in the 12th house dissolves the relationship a little bit with dad. You could, work in a hospital or prison, or if you are Virgo rising, your hidden talent, whatever's in the 12th house, you got to bring it out and share it with the rest of the world. So, Donna, you may be singing your butt off or doing stand up comedy in your bedroom or in your shower, and you're not sharing those gifts with anybody else. So, if you are the Virgo rising, Donna, you got to share it with everyone else. But if you're the Libra rising and that Leo sun is just hitting quick, like a little glimpse into the 11th house, well, then you're the humanitarian. The 11th house is your hopes, dreams, and wishes. It improves better over time with age. And that Leo in the 11th house, you can be the leader in groups, organizations, maybe have your own podcast or lead different groups over the internet, be connected to your social network, or be extremely close to your older siblings. And in terms of your father, if your son's in the 11th house, Donna, your dad may have been more of a friend sometimes than like a strict, tough dad. So
Yeah.
just a little
And
something for you there.
no, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. And she said I'm a humanitarian 100%. And she
Okay.
does have a follow-up question. But before we go there, I wanted to ask you just in regards to her father, how
Hmm.
much does her father's chart relate to the experience he has with her? Like how much? Because I mean, obviously we're talking
Yeah,
about two
that's a
separate
great
charts
question.
here. Yeah.
So what's fascinating, like, let's say when I tell people this all the time, once my father was already, deceased, once I became a professional astrologer, thankfully my mother was still around. But when I learned my mother and my father's charts, it was like that aha moment. I was like,
Mhm.
oh, now I see who mom and dad really were. You'll never know until you see their birth chart, but it is magical. I actually had a client one time, Tara, and it was so touching. Oh my God. Both her parents were gone, but she booked readings of both her parents' charts. And I was so honored. I mean, really greatly honored to do that. And she said to me, Eric, wow, you brought such revelation and clarity to me to really know who my mother and father were. And I was like, her name, I won't say her name, but she was so sweet. And I was like, it was my honor and pleasure. I did her chart first, but then did
Yeah.
her parents. And then I tell all you guys that are parents out there, OMG, you have got to get a chart reading. I don't care if they're 20 or they're 15 or 1 week old or 3 years old. You want to get birth chart readings for your children.
Mm.
I will tell you as an astrologer, I use it and know it every day for my 4 sons. And becoming an astrologer and doing my kids' charts, it's made me a better parent. You want to know what's in their third house for elementary school, for their education, how they communicate and think and learn their skills. You want to learn their moon. I got twins with Scorpio moons. Woo, some intense emotions in my house. If I didn't know that, they could have maybe got some butt whippings, but I knew that they had a Scorpio moon and Leo suns. And I'm like, okay, I just got to let them woo-saw it out. And I tell them, listen, I don't want to hear the screaming and yelling. But when you have a Scorpio moon, the moon's exalted in Taurus, home in Cancer. A Scorpio moon, it's in its fall, very intense emotions. So if you keep it bottled up inside, you can literally get colon, ovarian, or prostate cancer. You must release,
Mm.
purge, detox, transmute out those intense emotions, or else Scorpio moons can literally get sick, Tara. So it's
Yeah.
very helpful to know your chart, your parents, and yes, so looking at Tara's dad's chart, it would tell me a little bit about her. But what's more important is just to look at her sun, moon, rising, and all the planetary aspects. And then I could tell her everything about her life and her relationship. And what's fascinating, the sun and moon, how they are aspecting each other, tells me where your parents were mentally, spiritually, and emotionally at the time of your birth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I just had a little aha moment there myself where I just realized having this information can really assist in healing, especially if you have a difficult relationship with a parent or a child.
Yes.
Really, because you're understanding them from a different perspective. And,
So
maybe there's
true.
that resentment that you can let go of sometimes because it's really you're not having to place the blame on them as much because you realize it's actually something that's part of who they are in terms of maybe, sometimes we wonder, well, why do they act like this? Why do they always do this things a certain way? And it's like, well, there's a reason for that. And not to say that it excuses all bad behavior, but
No,
you
no,
can
no, no,
you
no.
at least can understand it a little bit better.
And you just said a mouthful right there, Tara, because not that and dot, 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 you chose them. Your
Mm,
children are your teachers, the parents, we are the guides, but you chose them. So you may have chosen your parents to go through these soul life tough lessons to evolve you in this lifetime, right?
right.
Like it's really powerful. So for example, because I'm a Virgo sun and a Capricorn moon, that's a 120-degree angle, right? 2 earth signs. It's called a trine in astrology. So my mom and dad were in perfect harmony when they made me, right? My wife, she's the Sag moon and a Pisces sun. That's a square. Her parents later on, when she was 6, whatever, got divorced. Squares can be challenging. There are opportunities for growth. Not every client that I have, if they're sun and moon or a square, their parents get divorced. But it does mean at the time when you were born, they were dealing with a little agree to disagree, some challenges. They weren't, and if it's a conjunction, like let's say if you are a Gemini sun and moon, right? Your mom and dad were like kind of like connected hand to hand on the same page.
Mhm.
So that planetary placement and alignments of your sun and moon tells a great story of the beginning of your life, even with your parents.
Mhm.
So what's
Wow.
her follow-up question? Inquiring
Yeah.
mind, I want to know.
Yeah, right? So Donna, just to close the loop on her questions, she said, "I'm thinking of starting a business that includes small gardening, farming. Will it do well?" I'll let you give that
Well,
answer,
okay,
Eric.
so that's where, yeah, Tara, I mean, Donna, Donna Tara. Be funny if Donna's middle name was Tara, right? But
That
Donna,
would
seriously, please reach out to me. Not only can I help you with your personal birth chart, but like I was saying earlier to Tara, I can help you when to file your paperwork for that business and tell you the most optimum time. And honestly, I help clients. Here's an example. Go and Google this, look it up. I did a birth chart reading. They don't mind me sharing it because I've already talked to them. A business birth chart for this amazing company. This was during the pandemic. They are in South Africa and Belize. It's called Exclusive Tents International. Their website is exclusivetents.com. Whoa, Tara, this company, they don't just make tents. They make tents that are like mother-in-law units and suites. During the pandemic, they were putting these tents like all over places because restaurants needed to have separate and outdoor seating. They will go to America, New Zealand, Australia. They'll go anywhere in the world, come with all their equipment, bring everything, and build your tent from New York to Florida to Arizona, California, wherever you are. And I did their business birth chart, family-owned business, incredible, and they are good. So yes, I do business birth charts, and I would love to help you with landscaping and farming because that's right on brand, because that's where we need to go back to: homesteading, farming, growing our own food. Remember I told you the Pisces, North Node, Virgo, South Node, and Pluto, Aquarius. We must, as a collective, Tara, at this time, more than ever, be maniacal, intentional about our health, right? Look at the last 3 days. It's worldwide, not just America, Canada, Europe, this fog and dust that's out in the air. Don't go out there
Mm.
and that stuff. We don't know what it is. It's not natural fog. It's not snow. There's stuff. I've seen the videos all over the internet, and it's not about conspiracies. This is just factual stuff. You see it
Yeah.
everywhere, and it's terrible. The air quality is terrible, but
Yeah.
we don't know, and they're not telling us what it is. We
Yeah.
don't know what they're spraying. This is not the regular chemtrails we see every
No.
day.
Mm-mm.
This is something extra and new. So
Yeah.
please focus on your health. And this means what? Vitamin D, iron, sea moss, zinc, cayenne pepper, ashwagandha, burdock root. Um, um, I don't know. Throw everything else out there. Getting the sunlight, drinking more water, spring water, right? Putting a little Celtic sea salt in your water. You have got to become intentional about your health and growing your own food, Donna. That's the best way to do it, my friends.
Yeah.
God bless you for doing that. And your life is going to like up level so much by doing that. But you know
Mhm.
what, Tara, when we eat in the morning, breakfast, no, that's just breaking your fast. So the
Right.
longer you delay to break your fast, you're allowing your cells to regenerate and heal. So your first meal, maybe it's at 10 or 11, not 6 or 7 a.m. And we should eat our biggest meal of the day between 12 and 3, with the sun being at its highest point between 12 and 2. That's the 10th house. That's when you should eat your biggest meal. And, it's still winter. The sun sets still kind of early. I think it's around 5:20, 5:30. You should not be eating after the sun is setting or sets, because it's harder to digest your food. So if you
Mhm.
do eat late at night or later, because I know everybody, come on, we got to be practical. We all live in this matrix. We got work and schedules. But if you have the biggest meal during the day, in the evening, maybe have a little light salad. Me, I love avocados and cucumbers, right? But eat lighter because your body can digest it better once the sun is down. I
Mhm.
try to give these tips because I
Yeah.
love people so much, and I want people to be, but no, I am not a doctor, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn last night, Tara.
But you play one on TV, right?
That's right. And,
Well,
and I've got my SAG card to prove it, right?
there you
So,
go. There you
well,
go.
yes. For everybody that doesn't know, I am a native New Yorker. Moved to
Mhm.
Arizona at age 40, 2011, and I was in television, film, theater. I've written, and I had my a movie produced. I wrote a play and had it produced in Times Square and set attendance records. I've been on a lot of television shows, movies. I was an actor that made enough money to pay my bills and get some insurance a little bit, but not ever to be rich and famous. But that was okay. I was content with that. But I loved the writing as well. And then I'm also an MC. I've recorded 2 hip hop albums. My rhyme name is E Complete. My first album was Hip Hop Forever. The second one was True Speaker. I did 4 mixtapes. And I say my final album, but someone told me don't say that because the energy is changing so much. You don't know
Yeah,
what you do. But
that's
my
true.
third album between 2025, 2026, and I got the title while right before, a year or two before I went into coma for 40 days, almost
Mhm.
died in 2021. You could see the episode that I did with Tara last week. But the title of the album, Tara, this is really deep. I didn't share this with you. it's titled, and when I got it, I didn't understand. This is back 2018. I got the title, and I'm like, wow, this is kind of long and wonky. Do I really want this title? But when you get the download, you just got to kind of listen to God, right? And
Right.
listen to the source. And the title is God Told Me to Tell You. And
Hmm.
now I know why I got that title after
Yes,
almost dying and being in coma for 40 days.
right.
So
Because
stay
he
tuned, you guys.
literally told you to tell you.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah. Well, please, Donna, reach out. I would love to help you with your business. It is an honor and a thrill for me, and I love doing it.
Yeah, and I do think, I think you're onto something, Donna. I think we are moving, as Eric said, into a more holistic way of creating food, and it's going to be more natural. So if you are tapping into the gardening aspect of that, I mean, I think you're right on brand with where we're going with things.
Oh,
So you're
yes.
going in the right direction with it. So I think that's great.
Yeah.
Sunny has a question here, which I think is a great question. How do you handle sharing bad information with clients, such as if you can see an impending death in someone's chart? That would be a
Whoa.
tough
I
information to
love
share.
that, Sunny. Thank you so much. So I'm going to be real with you. I tell all my clients, no spiritual person you have, psychic, medium, this one, that one, astrologer, no one should ever predict death. If they do, run away, because only God knows the time and day of death. But I will tell you, not in the natal birth chart, but in transit, we can see things. I'll give you an example. So in the fourth house, you can see in your natal birth chart the end of your mother's life. In the eighth house, in the natal birth chart, you can see the end of your father's life. And in your natal birth chart, in the 12th house, you can see the end of your own life. This is usually going to be associated with Saturn or potentially a little bit of Mars and Pluto in certain aspects. So it doesn't mean like, oh my God, Eric said, and I see Saturn transiting my 12th house, I'm going to die next year when it goes into Aries 2026. No, 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 no. Right? The Saturn return is at between 28 and 29 and a half, then again around 58, and then the third one, 87, 88. So, there has to be more alignments than just that. But in 2021, I am a Scorpio rising. When I was in coma, my mother passed away. My fourth house is Aquarius. Saturn was in Aquarius. My mother died. Very literal textbook, like the example I just gave you. My mother was a Taurus sun, Pisces moon, Pisces rising. Saturn was in Aquarius in the 12th house, which represents her chart, and the 12th house is literally hospitals. My mom died. My
Mhm.
mom died in the hospital in 2021 when Saturn was in Aquarius in her 12th house. So you see, sometimes it can be that literal.
Yeah. And I think there's something to be said also for exit points. From what I understand, there are multiple exit points that any one of us has throughout our life. So we have the choice, and we have soul contracts where we made these
Yes.
decisions on the other
And
side
free
before we.
will. Yeah,
Yeah. And so even if you may see it in a chart, that doesn't necessarily mean that
exactly.
that's what's going to happen, right?
Well, and that's why I wanted to say right off the bat, just because Saturn's going in your 12th house, right? For any Taurus risings out there, Saturn will be in Aries in 2026. It doesn't mean you're going to die.
Yeah.
Does not. There has to be other aspects and other things. But yes, in astrology, I can see those things. Here's an example. Let's say, Tara, you do the birth chart reading with me in a month or so, and it's not just for me to make money, it is for you guys. I tell people all the time, whether you book with me or any other astrologer, every human on planet Earth should get a birth chart reading. But what's also important, just like you celebrate your birthday every year, we have what's called a solar return chart. And I advise all my clients and anybody, you should do a solar return chart every year. I did one a few years back for my cousin, of all people. Most of my friends and family are not into astrology. I got 2 or 3 cousins that kind of support me. And this one cousin, she supports me because I predicted some stuff for her that like changed her whole life and blew her out the water. And she was like,
I would
oh,
be calling you every day.
yeah,
I would be like,
she's like,
okay,
I
what's
believe you.
happening
I
this week?
believe you, cousin, right? Because it was like real drastic where she would wind up getting like a lot of money and all that, right? So, but we did this solar return chart for her. And I saw some things and I said, hey, cuz, do me a favor. You got to go to the doctor and get a checkup. I see some things. Don't you know,
Mhm.
Tara? I was right. She wound up having a tumor, thankfully, in the breast. It was not cancerous,
Wow.
but she was able to deal with it. And I saw it in the solar return chart reading. And so let's just say, we're coming off of 2024, which is a leap year. So let's say you're born on January 1st, right? The way it works, it has to go back to the degree point. So let's say you're a Capricorn, born January 1st. The sun may have been at, I think it was exactly at 10 degrees that day. Each year, it could be different. The sun could return back to your 10th degree either on January 1st, December 31st, or January 2nd. So it just depends because, we have 365, 366. So it just depends. But either way, I base it on when it returns to the degree point, not just your birthday, just to let people know. And then it takes a snapshot of the sky. Well, Pluto's in Aquarius now. Depending on your age, you could have been born, like me and Donna or whatever, 1970, and your Pluto was in Virgo. So it's going to show you your chart January 1st, 31st, or 2nd at 2025. And that will tell you how this year of life will play out for you. And that's what I do in the chart reading and read it. I, record it live via Zoom. You get the recording. You get a, PDF of your chart. But what's really good, I want to teach you how to fish for yourself, not just give you fish. So I give you video placements, videos of all your planetary placements. So at your leisure, you can sit back and say, what did Eric say about my Venus and Aries again? What does that mean? And what did Eric say about Venus, Aries in the 3rd house? And you can watch those videos and then you're like, oh, and then that way it's like you're putting on those jackets and suits and you're like, okay, this is how I do my love language. Oh, this is how I do my Mars, your willpower, drive, your energy. Mars is also for the ladies, brothers, boyfriends. Ladies, you marry the Jupiter guy. You don't marry the Mars guy. He's just like sexual candy. Okay.
Okay, that's very interesting. There's a lot of information in that I'm sure we could unpack, but we want to get to Pamela because she has a question here.
Oh, great.
Will
Hi, Pam.
Pam, I will be successful or will I be successful in finding work in Atlanta, Georgia? That will pay me a living wage. My birthday is April 30th, 1974. And her birth time, once again, everyone has their birth time, 8:42 p.m. Central Time.
Okay. 8:34 at night.
8:42 p.m.
8:42. Okay, so your son is probably and when's the birthday again?
It's April 30, 74.
Okay, so you are a Taurus, April 30th. Means a lot to me. My mother was a Taurus. So your son is most likely probably in that 6th house. 74, I know your Libra is in Pluto and your Uranus as well. And you may be, if I'm correct on the placement of the time, you may be a Sagittarius rising. Number one, if that's the case, please slow down. You drive pretty fast. I'd have to see the whole chart to be able to tell you, would you do well working? Is she moving to Atlanta? Is that what she's saying? I'd have to see the whole chart. So I would book a chart reading, but I will tell you this. What does she say what she wants to do for work? Because when you
No.
have the sun in the 6th house, if this is the case for you, couple things. You probably would do well and overcome any sicknesses or illnesses. That's the 6th house pretty quickly. You got a strong immune system. Only thing you may have to deal with is sometimes a little issues with the collarbone or laryngitis, but your throat chakra should be pretty open. And when the sun is in the 6th house, you're kind of here for a long time, Pam. That you will live a longer than average life. So you got a lot of time to make that money. 74, right? So, you just hit 50. So congrats. And, sometimes I say life doesn't start until like after 45, 50. But really one thing I say after 50, it's such a freedom because you don't give a heck what people say about you anymore. That is no longer your job, what other people
That's
say
true.
about you, Pamela. And my greatest hope for you is to retire from negative self-talk. But if you're a Sagittarius rising, you're going to have a lot going on in your 4th and 5th house. So this is the time this year where you could do really well starting your own business, especially I would say like May, June. You know what I mean? You could have some big benefits, but it's got to be lit up in your heart, right? Something creative. Fifth house is your hobbies, creativity, speculative gains, taking risks, gambling, lottery, fantasy sports, dating,
Oh, wow.
romance, and sex. So, you're going to have a lot of changes this year, especially as a Taurus sun. Uranus will be leaving. It's not conjunct your sun right now, but it'll be leaving and going into Gemini. So you'll kind of like get a little reprieve, and even a bigger one for you starting April of 2026. So good times are definitely ahead, but please, if you are the Sag rising, drive a little slower for me,
She
Pam.
actually says she's a Scorpio rising, so
Oh, okay, Scorpio. Okay,
maybe
so
that means she's a little bit of
that's in your
a
seventh house.
slower driver.
Okay, well,
And by the way, she's a restaurant server. That's the other.
well,
Yeah.
there you go. Seventh house is kitchen, and Taurus is all about food. So yeah, that's really cool. So number
Oh, wow.
one is as a Scorpio rising, right? And so the seventh house is contracts, negotiations, relationships, business partnerships, and marriage. And so with the sun there, dad could be up in the cookie jar in your relationships, but you feel lit up when you are in relationship, marriage, or business partnerships. But the sun doesn't love being in a Venus sign like Taurus or Libra, a little bit worse than Libra. The Sun and Venus are not on the same team. Sun, Mars, and Jupiter are on the day squad. The night team is like Moon, Venus, Saturn. And the Sun, the king, doesn't like to be in the seventh house because the king wants to give out the orders. In the seventh house, the king has to barter and trade. So he doesn't like that, but you work in that type of field. So it's really interesting. So with the Scorpio rising, I'm a Scorpio rising. So I live your life and I know it. And you can come give me a big hug. You've gone through a lot of transformations in your life. But the greatest thing I want to tell you, you're here to break generational curses in your family and lineage. And that Sagittarius second house is your best friend. Scorpio risings, we will never go broken, homeless. So tap into that energy. Second house is your speech, your food. You probably don't like raw food. I know if I eat sushi, I get really sick. Happened on my second date with my wife. Almost was like the cookies were almost up, Tara. But you like your food. If you do eat meat, right? You want it medium to medium well. And with it being a Sagittarius fire sign in your second and sixth house, you want to get this more solar food. Make sure this year you increase your fruits and veggies. But you're going to do fine. You're going to do fine. But you'd have to book a chart reading for me to get more detailed. But I believe you're going to do really well. And guess what? Right now, Jupiter's in your eighth house. So before it leaves in June, you could receive abundance from other people's resources. Your spouse, if you are married, could get some wealth. And you could also go through receiving you or your spouse some sort of inheritance, or even, how we overpay on the taxes, IRS? This
A
April,
lot.
you could definitely this April get like a bigger tax return as well.
Wow, that's some great news, Pamela. You've got some money coming your way, it sounds like.
Oh, and listen, next
Exciting.
year, starting in the summer in June, Pamela could go on some great vacations, or it could be time for Pamela to write her first book.
Wow.
Publishing
Okay.
next. Yeah,
Pamela,
this
you'll
summer.
have to check back with us,
Yeah.
later on when we have
And
Eric back
please
again and let us
email
know
me
how that turned out.
or go to biggieastrology.com or email
Yeah,
me, Eric@biggieastrology.com. I'd love to, help you further.
that sounds amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah,
And
some
then
great
Diane
people here. I love it.
right. Oh, she actually just messaged again. She said, "No, no raw. I'm vegetarian. Sag
Oh,
North Node."
perfect.
So
She's
she knows a
vegetarian.
lot about her chart.
Well, see, and that goes aligned with your Sagittarius second house. Remember, I said more fruits and veggies. There you
Yep.
go. And
Yep.
your Taurus seventh house. Oh, so you may need to give me some recipes. You get busy in that kitchen. I already know about you.
She's very intuitive. She knows about herself. So that's amazing. I
I
love that.
love that, Pam. I love that.
Yeah. Diane's just saying hello from Scotland. Hello, Diane. I
Oh
got to
my
visit
God.
Scotland a few
I
years
love
back.
Okay, wait, can I
It was
say a quick
beautiful.
message to Diane?
Absolutely.
I've only had 2 clients ever born in Scotland. And one of them, because they were born in Scotland, the midheaven, Tara, it's kind of like how your soul's vibrating in public. The 10th house is actually the workplace, work environment, your public image and legacy. The midheaven can be anywhere being placed, the close to the equator or whatever. It's usually in the 9th, 10th, or 11th house. But I've had a client born in Scotland, their midheaven was in the 8th house. And I'd never seen that before. That was the first time I experienced that this year. So that'd be interesting if Diane has her midheaven in the 8th house, because my client who had it was born in Scotland. But I love the Scottish, and love to visit your country. But definitely, I love when Mike Myers, in his movies did the "So I Married an Axe Murderer" when he did the Scott
Right.
head move from out of the television head. You're blocking the screen with that big old head of yours. It was so. Oh my God, I love Mike Myers.
That's funny.
So much props to the Scottish. And does she have a question?
She just gave us clapping hands. So Diane, unless you have a question,
Oh,
feel free to throw
thank
a question
you.
in the chat. I visited Scotland. It's been few years now, but when I was there, it was my only time visiting, and
How do you
I
like it?
visited. It was amazing. I mean, my family's from Ireland.
Right,
Both
right,
my
right.
parents were from Ireland, and so I visited there many times. And so I took a little short trip over, and I got to go to Edinburgh Castle. And what's so
Oh,
interesting is when I got there, I just instinctually knew my way around. It was very strange. Like, I happened to
wow.
know, oh, the castle is up this hill. Like, I knew where
Wait,
things
wait. Do you
were.
think you had a past life there?
I feel like I must have, because how would I know these things? How would
I
I know where
know.
things
That's
are,
deep. You just gave me
Yeah,
chills with that one, Tara. That's deep.
right?
I bet you did.
I know. I know. That's what I think too. Let's see. Diane said, I'm new to astrology. I'm Libra born 17/10/86. That's all I know. So October 17/86 is her birth
October
date.
17th, 86. She's a Libra. And 86, she's dun dun dun, dun, Gen Y, millennial. So that's 83 to 95, Pluto Scorpio. And really, the millennials started in 1980, so the end of Pluto Libras as well. So yeah, the Libra and the Pluto Scorpio. The greatest thing I would tell you, you're new to astrology, definitely reach out. I love newbies because this can help you with every aspect of your life. And I know if you're a Libra sun, just try to make sure, that you're not too passive aggressive. Sometimes Libras are the best event planners. They're good at social work, teaching, anything aesthetic, making things aesthetically beautiful, interior decorator, designer, artist, actress. But they are the best event planners. But sometimes Libras, they have trouble where they have to always be in relationship or do stuff with others. You got to work on the self-love to do things by yourself and alone and be comfortable in your I am energy, right? You always learn from the opposite sign, Aries, which is like the great I am, right? And so that's my greatest advice for the Libra clients, because you guys are amazing and you really have this the way they work with the color palette. I mean, Libra can walk into any house, any room, and they know how to like move things and decorate an event plan. When you see a Libra in their like Zen place and their field of choice, Libras, they know how to like make, and they're the best listeners, which is why they're good for lawyers and actors. Because Libras, right? It's like, this is my funny saying. Remember, I told you I have all these terms of endearment. So this one you may laugh, Diane. I hope you laugh at this. Libras are you are the judge, jury, prosecution, and defense in your own court of laws.
Wow. Well, it sounds like you're hitting the nail on the head, because she just messaged, oh my God, you're describing me perfectly. And I also think it's funny. She said her 10-year-old told her that she was a millennial today. So it's
She
funny
didn't
to hear
even
your
know. I
10-year-old
love it.
tell you
Yes, you are millennial, my friend.
that.
Oh,
So
that's
that's
great.
great. That's great.
And
Sun,
let me just say this real quick to
yeah.
her. Being a millennial, it's your turn. You're up to bat the next 20 years. Pluto is in Aquarius squaring your Pluto Scorpio. I'm a Pluto Virgo, so I do a lot of work helping to help heal millennials, right? Pluto
Mm.
Scorpio, you went through really an intense childhood. This was when you were born. This is when we were dealing with HIV, AIDS. We were dealing with a lot of trauma, a lot of things, and a lot of the children born in Pluto Scorpio, they Pluto's at home in Scorpio, right? And they dealt with a lot of pain, trauma, and crises. So millennials are good at identifying what's wrong with them and what they went through, and they've mastered, and sometimes so too much so, the money, power, and sex. You have to lead with your spiritual gifts and your healing. You are usually Pluto Scorpios are empaths, and you've got to not just identify the traumas, now you've got to transmute them, work through them. The Scorpio goes through the phoenix, rising through the ashes, kind of burning the butt, and then you get to the eagle. The constellation of Scorpio is Anguilla, the eagle. So you want to get to that highest point where you are completely healed. And I really love to work with millennials and help them to do that. So please reach out. It'd be my honor.
That's great. No pressure, Diane, but the weight of the world rests on your shoulders.
Well, the
So
next 20
get
years,
it right.
Pluto Scorpios, they're going to take over the world, Tara. So we need the millennials to be healed because they are up to
Yeah,
bat. They're going to be the leaders of the new world. Yeah.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. I
It's
agree.
important.
Sunny has a really great question. I love this question, Sunny.
Oh,
Can astrology tell us about our connection to certain galactic races?
oh,
I
yes.
love this.
Now, okay, I don't do this, but yes, I do have a good friend I can always recommend to you. I'm just an open book and just real and generous,
I
right?
know who that is.
I never lied to anybody, but I've got two good friends, the one she knows and another one. But yes, what's important is, right, people who has been on this podcast and has been on mine, and she will be on mine live January 8th. Miss Debbie Solaris will be
Exciting.
on Biggie Astrology, and we'll be talking about that. So astrology does connect to the galactic. Debbie Solaris explained in my Akashic Records reading, my lineage is Lyran and Vega, but I also am connected to Sirius, Orion, and the Pleiades. So I had a very mixed, galactic lineage. But yes, in astrology, you can see certain signs are connected to certain galactic families and planets or galactic energy. So yeah, there are galactic astrologers specifically as well. I have another friend besides Debbie Solaris. She's not an astrologer, but she knows everything about the galactic and aliens. Debbie's the best. But also Lisa Brady. So she's lisabradyusa.org. So yeah, between Debbie Solaris, and you can reach her, debbiesolaris.com, and she's the best, and a dear friend of mine, and Tara knows her well, is also. She can help you with that. She doesn't do the Akashic Records readings anymore, but she teaches classes. But she's got a wealth of information on her website and everything, and she can give you insight with that. But galactic astrology, I know Lisa Brady is really good with that as well. So yeah, you can see that stuff. It's really fascinating, but it's another branch of astrology. And so
Mhm.
with astrology, every astrologer picks their niche. Mine is about, helping you to evolve and increase your self-love and to kind of master your chart. And so I'm about really, it's like a little bit of psychology, spirituality, and just straight up astrology. And some astrologers like Lisa Brady, they focus on the galactic astrology. So you have a little bit of everything. Some people only focus on relationships like synastry compatibility, and I do that as well. But you know what I mean? Everybody kind of picks their niche, so they find their strong points. And for me, I like I have an Astro Life Transformational Program, Tara, that is 5 months, but we
Wow.
start with 7 weeks, and then the next 3 months we meet once a month. I don't leave you stranded after we finish the coaching, but we have a goal setting and kind of like, what's your intention? What do you want to do? The first meeting. And the second meeting, I do your birth chart reading. Then after that, we get into the next 4 weeks. I break down in your natal birth chart 3 houses at a time, doing a deeper dive so you can live and exist in the flow and energy of your chart and become that Jedi, like Tara and I were talking about earlier, to master your own chart. So you
Mhm.
see everything coming. Life slows down and you're like, oh, look at that. Nothing for me to stress. It's just the Mars is aspecting my moon right now. So I'm going to be a little bit more irritable. No big deal, right? Like right now, Mars is in Leo. Taurus risings, they are giving people a lot of heat in their homes. My wife's a Taurus rising. She's been yelling at the kids a little bit more lately, right? So I tell her to let her know, and I tell the boys, can y'all just clean your room and leave mom alone? She's going to be a little irritable until January
Mhm.
6th because Mars is in Leo. It's just a fact. My wife can't escape it. I see the astrology play out in my life every day, Tara, and it is comedy
Yeah.
for me. Because like on Thanksgiving and Christmas this year, the moon was in Scorpio. I was telling all my clients, hey, just don't talk about religion or politics or anything crazy on Thanksgiving or Christmas because you may ruin it. And there could be a lot of intense emotions and arguments. And oh my God, the next day, I was seeing stuff on social media where people were like, kind of like back during the pandemic when like people were like having serious issues like during the
Meltdowns.
holidays. Exactly. But that's what happens when the moon's in Scorpio. You can't
Mhm.
help it. Emotionally, you get a little bit more intense because the moon, Scorpio is ruled by Mars, and the moon is your emotions. Like I said, your mother, your family. your body health intuition. So,
Mhm.
these things are really helpful. And I'm about helping people with their practical daily lives. I want
Yeah.
everyone to be the best versions of themselves, while they're here.
Yeah. Well, that is amazing. And just before we wrap up, we have one last question here. Diane asks, can astrology tell us about our past lives? I'd love to know how to find out what mine were.
Oh yeah. Now this is where you want to work with either Debbie Solaris or my other friend Amy Robeson in terms of the Akashic records. But in astrology, in your South Node, in your fifth house, and the moon, I can tell you things, sometimes with Saturn as well, about your past life. Pluto too. Pluto holds the pain, trauma, and crises from childhood and past life. Saturn is the DNA and like your lineage, your ancestors, as well as the moon. Your moon sign, I'm a Capricorn moon. So, for example, for me, most likely in a past life, I was a Capricorn sun. When you look at the fifth house, that's ancient history, but it's also past life karma. So whatever's in the fifth house, and then also the South Node, which is your most recent past life, that will tell me what you were doing in a past life, right? So I was the Virgo South Node, and then like Pisces in the fifth house. So I was really probably doing something similar to this, like spirituality, astrology, health, that combo in a past life. So it's really fascinating and it's really helpful. I've seen some things. And plus, I will say, since I was on the other side and almost died in 40 days in coma, my intuition has increased like it's kind of like tenfold. I'm very real and practical. I'm a Virgo, right? I don't put out false labels. I'm not a psychic. I don't ever pretend to be, but I am very intuitive. And when I'm working with you, sometimes I'll get visions and dreams or just daydreams, like downloads of like describing your actual placement, right? Like I may see while I'm working with I forgot who that was. Maybe it was Donna. I think it was Donna, somebody with the seventh house Taurus sun. I may like get a vision and like see you in your kitchen, like cooking and chopping up the fruits and vegetables. And so during the reading, I'll be like, you like to cook a lot, right? You make a lot of like recipes and you use a lot of food from the garden. And she'd be like, oh my God, yeah, I do that every day. How'd you know that? And so that's where it's astrology knowledge mixed in with my intuition. So
Mm.
yeah, you can see pretty much everything in the birth chart, and I just love it. It's so powerful.
Well, this has been amazing. You have definitely helped demystify this topic for me a little bit more. I mean, I think I still need to do a little more reading and studying, but there's definitely more of an understanding I have. And I know I appreciate your time, Eric. And I know everyone who joined us this evening. Thank you all in the chat for joining us and asking such great questions.
Great
And
questions. Thank you.
absolutely. And Eric, where should people go to find you? So if they want to book a reading, would it be bigeastrology.com? Is that your website that they should go to?
Yes, thank you so much for asking. And I just want to leave the collective with this quick message as well. Remember, I told you most of the major placements. We have 3 Mercury retrogrades, the Venus retrograde. I explained the Jupiter and Uranus, but Saturn and Neptune will take a little sneak preview dance. Remember, I said the coming attractions into Aries. Saturn and Aries, it wants you guys to be a little less impulsive and slow down. Neptune and Saturn will be permanently in Aries in 2026, February. It will stay in Saturn to about 2028. Neptune will stay in Aries to 2038. So we are going to see some huge planetary shifts with Pluto Aquarius, Uranus Gemini, Saturn Neptune and Aries. So get ready. What I want you guys to do is focus on your spiritual discipline, no days off. Try to do something hiking, walking, breath work, meditation, mindfulness, stillness, sound bowls, toning, right? Grounding and earthing by your tree, palms and feet on the ground, some sort of spiritual practice, 15 to 30 minutes a day. Saturn and Pisces wants healthy boundaries, compassion, empathy, grace, and mercy for you first. Self-love, retire from negative self-talk. Please reach out. I'm here to help you. And I really take what I do very serious. BigEastrology.com. You can email me, Eric at BigEastrology.com. Please follow, subscribe, YouTube, Instagram, X, TikTok,
Whatever we
and
call that.
Facebook. Everything is Biggie Astrology. And Tara, you are the best, my friend. This has been an honor and a pleasure. I love your audience and amazing questions, you guys. And astrology, remember, it's the map of your life and the remembrance of your soul. You are not a victim in the physical realm or the spiritual realm. And forgiveness is a gift to yourself. Please forgive mom, dad, the brother, the sister, the aunt, the uncle, the teacher, the person that maybe touched you inappropriately, sexually assaulted you. I'm not saying it's easy, but when we forgive, we release that energy and that soul tie, and it's really healing for ourselves. So we really want to be at our highest vibration in this time of ascension and do the spiritual work. No days off. It will benefit you.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, what great words to end on. And everyone should go over and check out Biggie Astrology, sign up for a reading. It will change your life.
Yeah.
You'll know what the future holds. So
Oh,
thank you
definitely.
again, Eric. I appreciate your time, your wisdom, your
Thank
knowledge, and your
you,
energy. Thank
Tara.
you
You
so
you
much.
are the best, and I just love your podcast, your energy, and everything. And I know eventually you'll be a guest on my podcast, and I can't wait to come back for a third time with you.
Absolutely. Anytime. You're always welcome back, sir. Thank you
Thank you.
so much. And thank you to everyone in the chat today. We appreciate you and we hope you all have a wonderful night. So thank you.
Bye.